Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of The Headliner titled Meet the Elders on your favorite channel Mikiya TV. I'm your host Umar Isa Dandago. Today we are here with one of Kano State's most renowned historians in order to pick his brain about the significance of history and its conservation. Malam Ibrahim Ado Kurawa has read more books than, I would say, he could count, published more than 100 different types of publications, and of course has spoken both at home and abroad about some of those issues and beyond. As it is the tradition of the show, Meet the Elders, we're going to talk to him about his life, his work, experience, and fish out some important lessons for our younger generation. Well, Malam Ibrahim Ado Kurawa joins me right here, right now in his library. Thank you very much indeed, Karamakallah, for being on the show.
Thank you. So,
we have got a lot to discuss. I've learned from different sources that you have traveled to a lot of places, delivered a lot of presentations and talks, and written a lot. Before we dive deeply into that part, let's get to briefly know about yourself. Who is Malam Ibrahim Ado Kurawa?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa
Salatu wa salamu ala sayyidina Rasulullah. Well, Ibrahim Ado Kurawa is just Ibrahim Ado Kurawa. There's nothing to say about that.
Nothing more, nothing less?
Nothing more, nothing less. I can't talk about myself.
70 years of age?
No.
Having 10 children?
Much less
20
than
grandchildren?
That. No, I don't have all that. I was born in Kano here. I did my primary school in Kaduna. St. Anne's is a missionary school.
Okay.
In the 70s. And from there I went to Federal Government College in Mori, Delta State. I did SBS, School of Basic Studies, as a preliminary to university. I stayed shortly at University of Sokoto then, but I didn't complete. I went to Egypt, to Azhar, and spent 2 years. Came back to Nigeria and then joined Wire University, Faculty of Science. I did biological sciences up to postgraduate level. Then from there I stopped. And then I started doing many other things. Yes.
I don't know, many of your friends are now professors, but you're not. I don't know whether you specifically did not grow up having an interest in the academia, but you have a lot of publications which should have made you a professor had you been in university.
Well, professorship is an occupation, is a trade. You understand? There is difference between professorship and scholarship.
Okay. Oh,
obviously.
What's the difference?
The difference is that if you are a professor, you are working, you are getting salary. If you want to continue with knowledge, you can do it with whether you are a professor or not. You keep learning. So I'm still learning. So,
and teaching as well.
When it comes to that, if I'm asked to say something or to write something or to talk about something, I do it.
Okay.
Even though I'm not in the university, but I engage in scholarly activities, which is our tradition anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I know you don't like talking about yourself, but a lot of people in Kano State and in Nigeria believe that Professor Abdullah Ubada, one of your great friends, is a hugely learned person. He knows a lot, not only about his field, but in other fields. But I was once having a conversation with him and he said, oh, you guys think I'm educated. There is one very person who knows better than me. And he mentioned your name.
No, he's just being humble. Professor Abdullah is professor of two
disciplines, I know that. But then he said,
I'm not a professor of anything. So how can I be more learned than him? He's just being humble.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you're just being humble, rejecting the
no.
accolade.
Professor Abdullah introduced me to Rockefeller Foundation, and he gave me the form that I should apply to be a fellow, because he's the only one from Kano who was a fellow at that time.
What is that Rockefeller Foundation?
So he encouraged me to apply for it, and I also got the fellowship because of his own guidance.
Oh my
so
God.
he cannot say that. So it's It's a study fellowship.
Okay.
If you have a publication that you want to do, you apply and they will give you residency for 1 month.
So I don't know, how are you able to, did you find yourself in a situation where you had to explain it to those Western guys that this is Islam and all Muslims have accepted that?
No, it's not, they know that Muslims want the Sharia. What they are saying is they don't want it the way we want it.
Okay.
You have to stop certain things. Maybe certain punishments of the Sharia must be stopped. As Lugard was the first person to start that. When the British came, they said, okay, all the hudud of Sharia must stop. Cutting of hands, flogging, stoning, they cannot be done. Because according to them, they are repugnant to...
Inhumane.
Yes.
Infringement of human rights.
So this to natural justice and equity. So they don't consider it. Because they have, that is the difference we have with them. They believe that they can change laws. But we Muslims, we cannot change a divine law. And it's permanent.
Yes, it is.
So you have that difference. So our worldview is different from their own worldview. Their worldview is based on man. Capital M, man.
Okay.
Meaning that satisfaction of the person, of the human beings. Whatever desire. So it has become hedonistic. That's why today you find LGBTQ, because people want it, so they give them. But we say no, there is a red line. So we have this difference. And Europe changed its philosophy from theos, which is God-centered, to man-centered after the Enlightenment by Kant, who said everything must be done by reason. Anything that reason is not. So this is a completely different thing. There is no way the Bature will agree with us, and there is no one who will agree with him on this issue. So this is a fundamental difference.
There is this issue of inclusivity, inclusion, and coexistence between Muslims and non-Muslims. I don't know, in your own explanation and interpretation, as a Muslim, as a scholar, as someone who has traveled to different countries, how can we Muslims live side by side with non-Muslims without we compromising our beliefs, our Islam, and then without them influencing us with theirs?
Everybody influences the other. You can't live on an island. But like the Sharia in Nigeria, when they did it, the state governments, it was exclusively for the Muslims.
Yes.
So that is why they said, why should you have a separate criminal law for Muslims and Christians? But that's the only negotiable compromise. Because if you don't want, if you don't want Sharia, you cannot say Muslims should stop it. Stop it and do what? So you arrive at a compromise whereby the Muslims will be treated by the Sharia, and then they will be treated by their own law. So the British tried to make that compromise earlier when they introduced penal code. In the penal code, which was imported from India, Muslim part of India and Sudan, they recognized these offenses of Sharia like adultery, fornication. Then they made them punishment. They prescribe the punishment, not the Sharia punishment.
Okay.
No, just they say, okay, you can be flogged, you can be given imprisonment if you steal, something like that.
Okay.
So to them, penal code is a compromise. But now, when it came in 2000, when Ahmed Sani Riman Bukura decided to do Sharia, I said, no, I'm going to implement Islamic criminal law, not the penal code.
Okay.
So that kind of thing, but for the Muslims.
Yes.
So this is it. It's for the Muslims, not for the non-Muslims.
Okay. And I
So it's a compromise.
Yeah, since 2000 up to now, many of them.
It's supposed to be like that.
Okay.
But I don't know if they are doing it.
But in Kano, it's very active with the Hizbah.
Hizbah, well, is active with Hizbah. What, do you cut the hand of the thief? Have you heard of that any day? Or anybody who does adultery?
But then they try to stop alcoholism.
Obviously. All that one. So it's like a shift to the penal code process. But it's like, it's negotiated. So the Sharia is being domesticated. I wrote a book on that, domestication of the Sharia. So it's something like that, you keep on.
And should that
because it's social. No, it's social practice. There is nothing you can do about it. Because even the Hizbah now, Can't you see the role they have been talking about? They come and bring this. Some politicians will not like it. Some politicians will manipulate. That's the point. So society is like that.
So it's not.
The society is not a perfect thing.
Yeah.
People keep on doing things, and then somehow along the way, the politicians will find their way.
But it's not the fault of the operators of the Sharia law, especially in Kano. It's the fault of the politicians.
Obviously,
politics.
It's the politics that comes up. When you try to do things, some people will say, no, okay, if you do this, they will get support from the federal government. It happened in Kano when during the time of Malam Ibrahim, there was a lot of crisis with the federal government, even Hizbah. They imprisoned late Malam Faruk Chedi, who was the commander of the Hizbah. And even what happened to him in the prison led to his death. So, yes. So you can imagine the state government had to go to the Supreme Court with the federal government before that thing was resolved. Because the federal government always tries to interfere with state governments, even though there is separation of powers in the constitution. But that is always negotiated in the judiciary and in politics.
History is very, very much important. Not only to us, Hausa people, Africans, but to generally to the global citizens, generally in the world. How significant would you say history is, and what should we do to preserve and conserve our own history?
Well, all nations of the world, they use history to forge their identity. Because without history, then you don't have a national identity. Your experiences will determine what you are and how you make your nation. Even Britain, even India, Russia, Spain, Iran, all these countries, China. China has over almost 3,000 years of history, recorded history. They have the longest record of history that is surviving. And they base their life and their national identity on history. So without history, you don't have identity. It's very important. And it influences your worldview, how you do things. Now, when you look at your international relations, your history influences it. You take China, you take Iran. They base their actions. Iran was the first, that's Persia. It was the first global empire in human history that combined two continents. So they are people of history, and they think strategically and long term. Maybe that is why currently they are resilient. That is why even their fight with the Zionist state of Israel is different from others. You see, they are very careful and strategic. They take time to do things. If somebody thinks about or studies how Iran has been, you'll understand the dynamics. I went to Iran in 1983, September 1983. So 1983. Yes.
That is
41 years ago.
4 years after the revolution.
Yes, he was alive that time.
And at that time there was Iran-Iraq war.
Obviously, we went to the war front. We went to Khorramshahr. We went to Aberdeen. Aberdeen was destroyed by Saddam Hussein.
And you saw that with your eyes.
We saw the destruction. The refinery was the largest in the world.
And Saddam hit it.
Destroyed it. Iran lost about $200 billion in that war. But they were resilient. And today, no country in the world can fight Iran.
No country in the world.
No,
now
it's going to be, it's not easy.
They
even want
it is
now.
Afraid of Israel.
It's not afraid of Israel.
And that's why it has been so careful.
It's not afraid.
In the way they attacked Israel in April, and also, was it April? Yeah.
And October.
And October as well.
It's not that.
They choreographed their own missile shooting and shelling to the Israel.
So if you want to know about people, you read other sources, not what they have written or what the Bature, Western media has written. Go and read other media. You'll know that really what Iran did was very strategic, because Iran was aiming at military targets, not civilian targets. While Israel, America, and Western powers, they aim at civilians, kill people. But Iranians, they aim at military infrastructure. So this is the difference. And even one Bodakama, what do you call him, from India, he wrote a paper on this recently, analyzing what Iran did. Because Now the Americans and the Israelis, what they are, where they cannot go ahead doing the rubbish they are doing. Okay, Iran first of all sent 180 missiles and drones.
Yeah.
Each of the Iranian drones maybe is $50,000. If you want to send a missile that will bring it down, you have to spend $1 million. They are sending you $50,000 military hardware. You are using $1 million. So they just have to allow them.
Okay, you are just echoing the Iranian sentiment as propelled by Professor Muhammad Marandi.
No, it's not Morandi only. This is for the Kama. He will tell you this.
Okay.
It's not Morandi. It's a fact. You send 300, some of them are $50,000, and then you use missiles. When Saddam was sending missiles to Israel, they were using Scud. Patriot, you were sending Scud missiles, they were using Patriot. Everybody in the world knows Patriot missile.
Okay.
Everybody knows it's a missile manufactured by the US to stop other missiles. How much is it? So it's not Morandi only that knows this.
Okay.
It has happened. So what I'm saying is that
history.
Yeah, they keep their strategic in their thinking, and they do it slowly and based on what they are aiming. From 1983 now, what has Iran become? Iran is manufacturing missiles that are ballistic missiles, intercontinental from 1,000 hypersonic.
Yeah, hypersonic. Yeah,
so,
ballistic
so you cannot say they have not progressed after that war. When we went to Iran during that war, even sugar was not available. They were using the brown sugar like Mozart Cola, chewing it and drinking the tea. Because
some people would say, why were you there?
Because we are students.
By the Iranian government?
I went to Iran, I went to US, I went everywhere. So
how could the US accept you while you
obviously
visited,
that's their problem.
While you had visited
that's
Iran?
It. So it's a trip to learn. It's a learning trip. Yeah, so Iran, we went there as students, students Islamic movement. I'm not Shia. I don't subscribe to that. For example, I'm just telling you, because even at that time, Ibrahim Ezezaki did not become Shia. Okay. It was much after our trip
that he got the contract.
I'm not saying contract. That he accepted their doctrine.
So they have this. I don't know. They call it Wilayat al-Faqih or something like that.
Whatever. That one is based
conquering.
No, Wilayat al-Faqih is not a doctrine of conquering anybody. Wilayat al-Faqih was based on the fact that the Shia, they say you cannot establish any government without the Mahdi coming.
Okay.
So in order for Khomeini to be able to become a leader and establish an Islamic state, as he calls it,
based on their own understanding.
Yeah, so he must have basis in their jurisprudence. So he brought about this concept or principle of Wilayat al-Faqih, that he, as the representative of the Mahdi, he can do it. Okay. So there was a lot of argument within the Shia
community.
Yes, scholarly community on this. So it's not it's not something that.
Still, one more thing about the importance of history, especially from the Middle Eastern perspective. What would we learn from history about what Saddam Hussein did from 81 to 89 and the support he got from the West, and also the way they turned their backs against him when he wanted to annex or invade Kuwait, and the claim that he was in possession of WMDs.
That was after that. That was
much later.
They used that.
So what should we learn from this history?
What we should
in Nigeria?
When September 11 happened, Bush, what did he say?
Okay.
He said crusades. You know what he said?
And
this is crusades. He said this is crusades. Okay. So he was warned. Why talk about crusades?
Okay, you talk about George W. Bush, the US president after 9/11, saying crusade. What does that? What did he mean when he used the word crusade?
Crusades were the wars fought by Christians against the Muslims.
Okay.
Christians of Europe came to the Holy Land to take over Jerusalem from the Muslims.
Okay, I understand.
So there are several crusades at different stages. It was continuous for a long time, and that defined the relationship between Europe, Christian Europe, and the Muslim world.
Okay. Okay.
So Bush said the 9/11 attack by the terrorists that attacked the world towers
you call them terrorists.
They are terrorists, obviously. What were they? That is terrorism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you need any other term?
Okay.
Bin Laden is a terrorist. He was a terrorist, obviously. So they use that And he said they are going to use crusades to fight them. Crusades were Christians who were fighting Muslims. So now Bush transformed that continental war between the Bin Laden group, which was created by the Americans.
Al-Qaeda was created by the Americans?
When you go back to history, you find that Al-Qaeda, Americans created it. They helped the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
Okay. Which later transformed into Taliban?
Taliban came and what have you?
To fight the Russians?
To fight the Russians. They created
Soviet Union guys.
They created the Mujahideen. $500 million according to the former National Security Advisor of US, Brzezinski. Okay. Even Hillary Clinton said it.
Yeah, she said it.
So it's not
on tape.
So I'm not creating it.
Yeah, no, so making it up.
Obviously, now Bush said they are going to use crusades to fight the people that they have brought up.
But Saddam has had zero relations with the 9/11 attacks.
That's the point. So when you come to that, how do you rope in Saddam? Blair and George W. Bush, they said Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. He's going to use it against you. Before this happened, they used Saddam to fight Iran.
Okay. Yes.
Isn't it? And after Saddam has finished that, while Saddam was fighting Iran, Kuwait was stealing Iraqi oil.
Okay.
So after that, Saddam said he has to stop that. He was in crisis after all this war. America instigated him to fight Iran. So he has to get back his money. And the Arabs were not giving him money. So he said he was going to invade Kuwait. And he told an senior American diplomat, either Assistant Secretary of State or an ambassador, that this is a problem with Kuwait. And he told him or she that they don't have any problem. It's between him and Kuwait. It's not their business. General Khalid wrote it in his book. General Khalid bin Sultan, who was the commander of the Allied forces in the Gulf War.
Okay, Gulf War. The second one or the first one?
The second one, which they drove him out. The one they drove Saddam from Kuwait. That's the first Gulf War.
Yeah, the first one.
So he was the commander, General Khalid. He wrote it there that this is what happened. After asking him, they have no business. Then America immediately went to Kuwait. They said, okay, Arabs, we cannot allow Saddam to have Kuwait. And then there was a coalition against him.
What would you call that? Double standard or what?
Obviously, double standard. And they do it. Americans, British, Western people, they are all their lives and their politics is double standard. They are not straightforward people. They are not honest. They don't have conscience.
Should Nigeria emulate the US foreign policy?
How can Nigeria emulate the US foreign policy? Nigeria is not an imperial power. America is imperialist. And it's because of imperialism that America has to maintain balance of power.
But Nigeria...
Balance of power in everywhere, this is their theory. There has to be balance of power. They can't allow any regional power in any part of the world. So in the Middle East, they have to balance Israel and Iran, or Saddam or Iraq and Iran. So after destroying Iraq now, then the balance of power has shifted. So this is the people now is between Israel and Iran. And Turkey is there watching. But Turkey is a problem because Turkey is a member of NATO.
Yeah, definitely.
So these are dynamics, but they know that if as an imperial power, it must have stake in every part of the world. So in Europe, in Middle East, it has to balance. In South Asia, the Pacific, it has to balance. China and others.
China and the rest.
And India or whatever. They have to do that balance. And so but those Asians, that's why you call it the second nuclear age. Vasco da Gama, when you go back to history again, Vasco da Gama, he went there, I think, 1490 in the 15th century. He went to Asia, going by the route from Cape of Good Hope to get the land, to get the trade. So after that, since that time, up to the 20th century, every encounter between the West and the Asians, the West overwhelms. For almost 500 years or 400 years, the West is always dominant. But now, America cannot go and fight China. America cannot fight India. America cannot even fight Iran now. So we have entered another way. You know what Americans did? They went to Hong Kong. Sorry, the British. They went to Hong Kong. They said, China, you must allow the opium trade. And they fought them and took over Hong Kong so that they keep trading on opium. They made the Portuguese to do another one, Macau. So now the Western powers cannot go and behave in such a way for the Asians. And even the Asians already, they have their ASEAN, Association of Southeastern Nations. And this ASEAN, they are 600 million. Majority, about 400 or 300 plus, more than half are Muslims. You have Hindus, you have Buddhists, you have Christians, but they are living in peace. Go to the Middle East, no peace. Because of the British. Because Europeans have come. The Europeans have no influence in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN. Yes. ASEAN, they are friendly with India, they are friendly with Russia, they are friendly with China, they are friendly with Japan, they are friendly with America. They believe in peace. So it's a different ball game. The ASEANs are the truly Kantian, because Kant is talking about universal peace, perpetual peace, in his ideal, in his theory of international relations. While the realist Machiavellians are the ones talking about power. So now is the Asians are the real ones that are Kantian, because they believe in peace and harmony.
Definitely.
All influenced by their history, of course.
This is too complex. We're running out of time. Definitely. What's the moral lesson now? From all these complexities of the balance of power, the shift, the complexity, the Western influence in the Middle East, and less of it in the Asian countries because of it.
Yes, because when we have technological breakthrough here and we find our way, then they will not manipulate us as they are doing. Because Africa is now the worst place in the world. Where you have in Democratic Republic of Congo, you know what is happening? From 1995 to date, 5 million people have been killed. It's the worst conflict since the Second World War, but nobody is talking about it.
It's underreported.
It's because it's in Africa. Because Africans don't have their own self-esteem, they don't have power, they don't have real independence. We are poor, we are manipulated.
How can we get this real power?
It's a long way. We need good leaders.
And we don't have any?
We don't have. That's the short answer. No.
People like you should be in politics.
No. You don't need to do everything. You are
very bold to confront anybody in the world and forge relations with the countries that can benefit us.
Everybody has his own greater, where you have greater advantage, competitive advantage. I don't have the skills of being a politician.
What if someone becomes a president?
You need special skills to be a politician. I don't have them.
What if someone becomes a president and allows you, appoints you as the Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Why should we be talking about that?
Would you take it?
I don't dream like that.
But would you take it if it happened? You wouldn't take it. Some people would say you would be a better person.
No. They are doing their thing there.
All right. Before we go, do you have any hobbies?
Which hobby? I'm too old now to have hobbies.
A lot of people do have.
Yes, I read. It's enough.
Reading is not a hobby. It's a source of knowledge.
Yeah. Even knowledge could be a hobby. You learn. Now the world has become so simple with the internet, with the phone, with many things. You can do many things. Even if learning, you can do it in form of
hobby. Do you watch Indian films?
I don't.
Do you listen to the music?
No, because I told you in 2000 we had a conference on this House of Films and how Indian films influence House of Film. It's cultural imperialism.
Cultural imperialism.
Obviously.
Your friend Professor Abdullah would disagree with you.
That's good.
He doesn't like the word, the framing of imperialism.
That's it. What I believe it is.
Power.
Soft power. It's the same thing.
Agency.
It's the same thing.
Choosing what they want.
It's the same thing. But you are made to choose that one. The Indians or the Americans, they bring their film and make it cheap for their people to take it. So it's the same thing.
Okay.
Only that they are not using guns to force you.
Yeah.
But they have other things that will attract you.
This is what you are referring to, House of Home videos, technology, economy, and society. There is one paragraph or part of a paragraph that interests me. You said, and I quote, dances are usually culturally significant and each step has its significance with its own meanings. In Hausa tradition, dances are associated with either the Bori cult or some ceremony, especially the Kalangu dance during wedding ceremonies. The first part of this statement, you're referring it to the Indian music, to the Indian songs and dances, saying that each step has a meaning that it conveys. And when you go deep into the write-up, we can discover that you're referring to the Indian songs and dances as part of their worship.
Yes, that's the origin. Every dance, every action in those things, it has religious values. It has religious origin. But people that are ignorant, they don't know, so they do it. But somebody, if you know it, you are worshiping their God by those kind of actions we are doing.
But there are many people in northern Nigeria, particularly in Kano, who have been so immersed in the Bollywood culture that they can dance and sing the way the Bollywood guys
because they don't know.
So
they keep on, they are living in ignorance.
As an imam, would you say
I'm not an imam.
Okay, as an Islam, as someone who knows a lot about Islam, would you say that they are copying?
They are.
I mean, they are doing.
They are doing ignorantly.
Okay, but then any zunubi for that, any sin?
Obviously, if you are ignorant, it's not an excuse to be ignorant. You have to learn.
So what should they do now?
They should learn. They should stop it. Dancing like Indians, you are copying them. And copying.
Should I stop listening?
No, I'm not talking about listening. Okay. Listening to it has its own version. If they are saying something that is bad or praising their gods, then you know that one too is not.
So I should go and learn about the lyrics, the meaning of what they're saying.
Obviously. How can it doesn't make any sense for somebody just to sit down and be listening to what you don't understand. Do you think that makes sense?
I use the internet to learn about the meanings of the lyrics.
Then if they don't mean anything, they have no religious connotation. But what I'm concerned is, what I was concerned here in this paper is about the dancing. Because the dancing, in all societies, dances have meanings. So the meaning of those dances are relation to the Hindu religion. So the way they are doing, if you are dancing like Hindu, you are dancing their own religious dance.
You are promoting their
culture.
Religions.
You are promoting their religion. You have been used. You are dominated. You don't have any value. You don't have independence. You have no brain.
Malam Ibrahim Kurawa, it's really been an honor.
Okay, thank you.
And I have been particularly interested in everything we have covered. Thank you very much indeed.
So thank you.
There's one important issue that we did not cover, but then we hope to come back and talk about it. Your travels to different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and then the knowledge, the travelogues that you have written. Inshallah, we'll one day find time to come back and talk about them specifically.
So, Allah Kaim.
I mean, I hope you have enjoyed the interview.
So, Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu
ilayk. On behalf of everyone that has contributed to the production of this show, my name is Umar Isa, and goodbye.